Hi, thank you so much for joining me today for our weekly devotional video. We try to release these every Wednesday at 7 a.m. That way, in case you want to use it for your devotional that day. And so, with that, today we're going to be looking in Proverbs chapter 17. Proverbs 17 has several interesting proverbs, but we're going to look specifically at three of them today. We're going to start in Proverbs 17, verse 3. So if you'll read that with me now, it says, "Fire tests the purity of silver and gold, but the Lord tests the heart." And so this is a contrasting parallelism sort of proverb. And so you have the first line being contrasted with the second line, or vice versa in this case. So the first concept is that fire tests the purity of silver and gold. Now, we likely get this idea that metal is refined through fire and that it separates elements and you kind of scrape different ones out. And therefore, you get more pure silver or more pure gold from the firing process. But the point here is that the Lord isn't after silver and gold. He's after what's on the inside, the heart. And so while fire tests those elements, the Lord tests the heart. And so it's a comparison of sorts. And so just like we are interested in seeing how much of it is actual pure gold and how much of it is not, when we put things in a fire, God is going to test our lives, our character, to see what's in our heart. So in the story of David, at the very beginning in 2 Samuel, nope, 1 Samuel, I can't remember if it's, no, it is 16. 1 Samuel 16, David is being anointed. And in this story, the prophet Nathan, nope, it's Samuel at this point, sorry. Prophet Samuel comes in and he says, "Surely it's this son." And the Lord tells him it's not that one. And he goes all the way down the line until we get to David, who's the one out in the field that everybody forgot about. So he comes and we're told that the Lord can see in his heart, see that he has a heart after God. And so the Lord tests the heart of us, just like he's able to see into David's heart. And the point here is that we are to desire a heart that is purely after God and shows that through obedience. Now, we're not going to be perfect. I understand that. This side of heaven, it's not a reality. But just as a fire tests the purity of silver and gold, the Lord is going to test our hearts. So perhaps through the life situations that we deal with, the relationships that we have, maybe the job or the move or something that we deal with, that sort of process reveals what's on the inside of our heart. Now, it's not a perfect science here on earth because we don't actually get to see inside a person the way that God does. You and I might see fruit on the outside of a person, but we can't actually be sure of anything. I mean, we can treat it as if that's the truth, and we should treat it as the truth, but we should also hold things loosely enough to where we can say, but God actually knows. I don't actually know. For example, what if somebody says something that you feel like is out of character for them and they're agreeing with you and you start to have those wheels in your mind turn, "Oh, they're just saying that so they can get what's over here and they can get these people on board and then they'll get what they really want and we'll see what's going on." Well, we're not supposed to do that because the Lord is the one who tests the heart, not you and I. And then in the same way, we should be striving to show uh, mainly God what's in our hearts and that we are open with God and that we confess things first to Him before anyone else because that is the most important relationship. Okay, so then we look at verse 5. And this is where things start to get difficult for me. I really like the Baylor Bears football team. It's where I went to college, to cheer for. Because of that, I tend to get excited a little bit, not as excited as a Baylor win, but a little bit excited when certain teams lose. TCU, Texas A&M, those kinds of teams. So I get we call it Schadenfreude. we get a little happy sometimes as sports fans when our rivals lose. And it's interesting because Proverbs talks about that directly. It says, "Those who mock the poor insult their maker." Here's where it hurts. "Those who rejoice at the misfortune of others will be punished." And so this is a sort of parallelism where one line compares to the other in that it's building and narrowing down the idea. And so in the first part of that, you have those who mock the poor insult their maker. In other words, what we say at church, everyone matters, right? And so when we insult the poor, or we insult the unintelligent, or we insult those from a different country or something, living standard, it could be a myriad of things. When we insult the poor, we're insulting their maker, God, because we're saying that his handiwork is no good, or that it's worse than it is in us, which isn't true. Scripture is very clear about that. Everyone matters to God. From the very beginning, all are created in his image. We learn later on that those who follow him are the children of God, the children who have been, some of us, like me, who are not Jewish, have been grafted in because we are now following God. And so we're adopted as sons. So there's that unique value that every single person has as God's creation. And then the second half of this Proverbs takes that idea and goes up another level on that. Those who rejoice at the misfortune of others will be punished. And this is where it hurts me, because sometimes I like when my rivals lose. And I need to work on that, right? That's what this is telling me. That if we truly think everyone matters as the foundation, then that next step would be, we don't want to see anyone lose. We don't want to see injustice, is really where I would go with that. We don't want to see injustice in the world. So the misfortune of others, when someone that we don't like seems to get their comeuppance, or when a person who has wronged us in the past has something bad happen to them, we shouldn't be excited about that. We shouldn't throw up a party about that. We shouldn't get on social media and say, "See, I told you this person that," we shouldn't do those things because of the wording in this proverb. If you do, those who do that, rejoice in others' misfortune, will be punished. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be punished. And I'm sure I am deserving of that in many ways. And I am thankful for the sacrifice of Jesus that covers up my many shortcomings there. And so the last proverb we want to look at today is Proverbs 17, verse 6. And Proverbs 17, verse 6 says, "Grandchildren are the crowning glory of the aged. Parents are the pride of their children." So this is a proverb relating the idea that children should be proud of their parents. Fathers and mothers should be honored by their children, and that in the same way, grandchildren are the crowning glory of the aged. Having parents who are now grandparents is really great, because they appreciate and love their grandchildren in a way that is unique to the way that they treated me, right? And not that it's better or worse, just that it's different. And scripture tells it in this way, that it's the crowning glory of the aged. Like it's sort of like you have reached that full achievement in life when you have grandchildren. And so you should, as a grandparent, be of the opinion that your grandchildren are the best. That is a gift, a blessing from God, something you can rejoice in. My great-grandfather, my dad's grandfather, I remember, had pictures in his house of all of his his kids, right? All of his grandchildren, that's my dad. All of his great-grandchildren, that was my generation. And before he passed, had a few great-great-grandchildren on that same wall. And so for him, those were his people, literally, that he was so excited about each one of them. And so that's exactly the attitude that we should have. And it starts with parents being honored by their children. And that's kind of a two-way street. parents are treating their children well, worthy of honor, and the children are treating their parents as deserving of that honor. And it gets phrased differently in different parts of the Bible, but that's the main point here. And so those are the three things that we're going to take away from this proverb, chapter 17 today. First of all, that we should, number one, we should remember that the Lord is the one who tests the heart. And then number two, we should make sure that we value other human beings, that we do not take joy in their misfortune, and that we honor fathers and mothers, family relationships there, because, those are important relationships, even if they're not how we would like them to be. And so I hope that that's helpful for you. I would love to talk to you more about the book of Proverbs or about something else if you would like. You can contact me by email, justin@greenwood.church, or you can come find me at the information desk in between one of our worship services, in between two of our worship services, right, on a Sunday morning. And so I'd love to talk to you more. I'll see you next week.